Hi everybody, I'm here for Fresh New Waves of YA Excerpt vlog, and today I'm going to be reading from Joelle Anthony, and in her book Restoring Harmony, which is coming out next week, I think, or at least at the time I'm posting this. Right now I'm doing this several weeks early, but because I got this through Around the World Tours, and I need to send it out today, um, so I'm going to be reading from chapter 13, and um, all you really have to know is if you like go through the summary, um, the main character Molly has gone off in search of her um, grandparents to bring them back to Canada, and um, right now she's in, I think the town is called Gresham, and I think it might be in Washington State, but I'm not entirely sure. Um, and and so right now she's kind of just living with her grandparents, and um, yeah. Let's go ahead and get started. As soon as I stepped off the street and into the market, I began to doubt my plan. Grandpa had told me that I could find produce and other goods for sale, but instead, all I saw were men crowded together inside tents and under canopies, drinking, smoking, and playing cards. I heard a few whistles, and from inside a tent someone called out, "Hey, baby!" I like to think I'm brave, but my insides twisted, uneasy. I considered just going back to the house, but I had to earn some money, so I made myself keep walking. Eventually, the tents full of card players gave way to food stalls and produce stands. I found a spot near a pile of old tires, and I opened my fiddle case and took out Jules. By the time I had her tuned, a small crowd of kids had gathered around. "You gonna play?" one asked. "Yep." I nudged the case casually with my foot so it was out in front of me a bit. I started with something simple that people might know, Turkey in the Straw. Before I'd finished, a few adults had wandered over to listen. The next one I played was called Rose in the Bow. It was an old tune Dad and I had learned from a Cape Breton fiddler. After that, I played a couple of Irish reels, and a few people started a sweaty dance right out in front of me. I'd been playing for a half an hour before I finally earned something. A man in dingy jeans and a faded work shirt leaned down and dropped 4 small onions in the case. I smiled at him and he shrugged apologetically, but my heart leapt at the idea of something besides tomatoes and lettuce. Onions could really liven up a meal, too. A woman, dressed nicer than anyone I'd seen so far, nudged her 2 sparkling clean kids forward. They each put a little money in the case and gave me wide smiles. I grinned back and nodded my thanks. After that, the listeners added half a loaf of bread, 2 cucumbers, and some cherries. When an old farmer in overalls set a whole pie down next to my case, I smiled big. My grandparents would be excited to see that. After an hour, I wiped at my dripping forehead with the back of my bow hand and said, "I think I'm about done." The heat of the day pressed down on me and couldn't be good for Jules either. Um, just in case it wasn't clear, Jules is her fiddle. She named her fiddle. "Play one more," someone shouted. I ran my bow lightly over the strings in a thinking sort of way, and tried to come up with something good to leave them with. The fiddle music made me ache for Dad and our evenings playing on the porch together, and I decided on my namesake song, just for him. Even though everyone at home likes to tease me when I play it, calling me Handsome Molly, no one here knew my name, so I didn't think twice. What did surprise me was that 2 or 3 people started singing right away. I wish I was in London or some other seaport town, set my foot in a steamboat, and sail the ocean round. While sailing around the ocean, while sailing around the sea, I'd think of Handsome Molly, wherever she might be. The crowd grew larger, and a few more people joined in on the singing. They seemed to know all the verses, so I just kept playing. Finally, we got to the end. Sail around the ocean, sail around the sea, think of Handsome Molly, wherever she might be. I know exactly where Handsome Molly is, I heard someone say as I drew out the last note. I looked up, saw the guy from the Max train, and felt a little flutter in my heart. I gave him a big grin, and he shook his sandy hair out of his eyes and smiled back. And then he placed an icy bottle of root beer next to my fiddle case. Everyone else had clapped and wandered away, but he came and sat on the tires. I grabbed the pop and collapsed next to him. Not the smartest place to sit, hot tires in the middle of a summer's day, but I was curious about him. Wow, I said, I haven't had pop in, well, I don't know how long. Where'd you get it? Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. He grinned and I opened the bottle. You're the best, I said. So I've been told, he smiled, and then in a mock serious voice he said, Are you lost? Walk straight in that direction and you'll run into Canada eventually. I laughed. Oh, you know, I said, not completely willing to spill the family secrets to a virtual stranger, even a cute one. I'm visiting for a while before we travel. He was smiling, but the way his eyes moved around, looking over my shoulder, lively and always scanning the crowd, I had the feeling he was only half with me and already on his way to somewhere else. What about your big move to Canada? I asked him. Oh, maybe, he said. He took a long swig of his pop. You never know. Business is good right now. What business? Ask me no questions. Yeah, you'll tell me no lies. You're a quick one, he said. I wish my cash business was better. I nudged the fiddle case with my toe. I'm really glad to have the food, but we could use the money for the trip. People save their cash for emergencies. The market's mostly the barter system, same as on our island. Suddenly he stood up. I followed his gaze. A small man in a suit and tie was making his way through the crowd toward us. I gotta go, he said, but maybe I'll stop by your grandparents' house sometime. The fact he knew where we lived shocked me a little. You remember the address? I asked. The guy seemed nice enough, but I couldn't forget the fear in the fair inspector's eyes when he'd shown them his ID or whatever it was. Never forget a face, he said. His cheerful smile relaxed me a little. Excuse me, sorry. Never forget a place or, well, anything really. Part of the business. See you around, handsome Molly. Okay, thanks for the root beer. As he and the small man crossed paths, they nodded hello to each other but didn't speak. The man continued past them and walked up to me, a friendly smile on his face. I pressed the cold bottle against my sweaty forehead. He eyed my fiddle and then my case full of produce. Finished playing? He asked. For today. I packed up Jules while they watched and was about to scoop up my take when he leaned over and picked up the pie. I'll take that, he said. Oh, that's okay, I've got it. You're new around here, right? He asked, still holding my pie. Yeah? Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Randall. He held out his hand and I shook it tentatively. And one of my jobs is to make sure everyone knows the rules. You see, this market isn't exactly public, if you know what I mean. I shook my head. It's a private enterprise, he said, and as a private enterprise, the boss takes a fair share of any profits the vendors make. In other words, the house always wins. Get it? I guess. He was taking my pie as a commission for being allowed to play at the market. A word to the wise, he told me. You don't play here without clearing it with the boss first. Are you the boss? He laughed. Oh no, not me. Well, how do I clear it with the boss then? Let's just say you don't. He tipped his hat and walked off with the pie. I stared after him. My big plan had been to busk every day until I had enough cash to get us home. If I couldn't play here, I was back to square one without any idea of what to do next. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a small little slice. It's a really good book, and so definitely go and get it when it's released. Definitely check it out. It's a dystopian novel, and I know a lot of you seem to like those. And this is really good too. I really enjoyed it. Um, and it's just really good. So um, yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later. Bye.